It's very important that you learn and memorize the properties of addition and multiplication because you're going to be seeing this throughout all of your math classes that you're going to take in the future, starting with algebra on to calculus and so forth. So you want to make sure that you get a really good foundation of these properties. The first property that we're going to review is commutative. The commutative property of addition says that you can change the order that you add numbers without changing the value. So, for example, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. We know that 2 plus 3 is 5 and 3 plus 2 is 5. The order does not change the value. That is for commutative. Similarly, in multiplication, 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. And that did not change the value. 2 times 3 is 6 and 3 times 2 is 6. So, same thing. The order of the numbers that you multiply in does not change the value. For the associative, we look at grouping. Changing the group does not change the value. For example, 3 plus 5 plus 2 is the same as 3 plus 2 plus 5. 3 plus 5 is 8, plus 2 is 10. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 5 is 10. Changing the group did not change the value. Associative is about grouping. Same with multiplication. 2 times 3 times 5 is the same as 5 times 2 times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 2 is 10 times 3 is 30. Changing the grouping in multiplication does not change the value. That is the associative property. For distributive multiplication, when it sits outside of addition, you are saying that you have to distribute the multiplication to each number inside the grouping. So it will be 3 times 2 plus 3 times 3. And that is distributing. You have to distribute to each value inside that group. So 3 times 2 is 6 plus 3 times 3. So 6 plus 9 is equal to 15. If you add these two together, you get 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. So you see the value was the same, but we were able to distribute that. In the case of identity, of addition, any number plus 0 is going to give you the number back itself. So 3 plus 0 is equal to 3. And that works for any number that you're adding 0 to. You're always going to get the original number back. In multiplication, when you multiply a number times 1, you get the number back itself. So 5 times 1, negative 5 times 1, you're going to get the original number back. Now 0 is a little bit special because 0 times 1 is equal to 0, but 1 times 0 is equal to 0. So it's a little bit of an exception for 0. But in general, any number except for the order of 0 is going to give you the number back itself. And that's why we call it an identity. For the inverse, any number added with its opposite is going to give you 0. So, inverse, the opposite of. The opposite in addition is the negative and positive. And we know that a negative number plus its positive number is going to give you 0. The inverse for multiplication, 5 is 1 over 5. We flip it for multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we move it to underneath, and when we multiply those together, we get 1. And that is true for any number except for 0. We do not divide by 0. That is undefined. So we are not going to use that in the case of 0. But any other number, you can take its inverse and you can get 1. Okay, so in review, the properties of math. Commutative is about order. Associative is about grouping. Distributive is about distributing outside the parentheses to each number. Identity is about getting the same number back. Inverse is about taking the opposite of. In addition, it will give you 0. In multiplication, it will give you 1, except for in the case of 0. Thank you for watching. Let us know if we can help you with any more math questions, and have a great day.